Hello, everybody, and welcome to Engaging Leadership. This is a group where we look at how you can be an engaging leader, the kind of leader that people want to work with, and also how you can engage the leadership in your organization so that you are able to move your projects forward, move your initiatives forward, and also move your career forward. Really glad to have you with me here today. I wanted to come on live and talk with you about habits because it's the beginning of the year, and one of the things that everybody thinks about, or at least a lot of us think about at the beginning of the year, is resolutions and what we want to do differently or better. So I was listening to a podcast recently. It's one of my favorites, The Hidden Brain by Shankar Vedantam through NPR. And he was interviewing Wendy Wood, who is a professor of psychology and business at the University of Southern California. And Wendy has done a lot of research on habits and has written a book called The Good Habits, Bad Habits, The Science of Making Positive Changes That Stick. And she shared this study that she did that I just thought was absolutely fascinating. So what they did was they brought a bunch of people into a movie theater and had them watch previews. And unbeknownst to them, they knew they were being given popcorn, but half the group was being given popcorn that was stale, and half the group was being given popcorn that was really fresh. And they were watching to see how much popcorn people ate. And here's what they found. People who generally had the habit of eating popcorn in the movies ate all the popcorn, or almost all the popcorn, even the ones who ate it when it was stale. And they noticed, like they asked them afterwards, what did you think of the popcorn? And they said, oh, it was terrible, but they had eaten it anyway. Whereas people who didn't have the habit of eating popcorn at the movies didn't eat the popcorn that was stale. They ate the fresh popcorn, but not the stale popcorn. So what I find so fascinating about that is how easy it can be for us to fall into habits because they're familiar, even when they don't taste good, even when they don't feel good. I want to just invite you to think for a minute about what's the stale popcorn in your life right now? What are the things that you do that don't particularly serve you, but you're doing them because it's just what you do, or you're doing them unconsciously, maybe you don't even notice. So I'm inviting you as you're starting this new year to really think through, what are some of those habits? What are some of those ritual or routine behaviors that, like the stale popcorn, aren't really adding much to your life, aren't really adding much to your existence? And of course, because I think about the workplace, I want to invite you to think about that as it relates to work. Are there meetings that you go to that don't really add value for you, or where you're not really necessary in that meeting? Is that your stale popcorn? Are there habits that you have about how you use your time at work that you could shuffle or shift around in order to make better use of your time? And so just a chance to really think through, what are the habits that aren't serving you? And I wanted to share a story with you. I had a client who several months ago, we were working on the issue of time. She was feeling really overwhelmed at work, and like there's just not enough time to do, especially the big picture kind of thinking work that she felt like would really be useful to move her ahead and help her make a bigger contribution to her job. What she noticed was that there was just so much coming at her all day, every day, that there really wasn't time to dig in and do that kind of big picture, longer term thinking, strategic thinking, organizing, toward having systems and processes in place rather than just having to deal with everything as it came her way. And so we kind of took a walk through her day. We looked at what were the things she did spend time on. And we found a spot. What we discovered was that she had a habit of getting into the office in the morning and like turning on her computer. And then while it was booting up, she'd go get coffee. And then when she came back to her desk, she'd sit at her desk and she'd check her emails. And then she'd check the stock price and see if there was any news out in the market about the company. And that would inevitably lead her through, a few little rabbit trails of interesting news or whatever. And often there was at least a half an hour, if not 45 minutes of time that, if she wasn't going right into a meeting at the beginning of the workday, that was just kind of getting frittered away. And so we worked together to create a new habit. And her new habit was to not check her email, like not even open the email client, until she had done some piece of substantive work. So she'd still turn the laptop on, go get the coffee, but then when she came back to her desk, her new habit was to focus in on that big picture work on, if there was a report she needed to work on, or some deeper reading that she wanted to do, something that was going to move her forward toward those longer term goals and toward the kind of work that was going to get her promoted, rather than, just kind of checking email and that kind of thing. Now, she checked email at home anyway before she left for work, so it's not like there was going to be something burning that she couldn't take 45 minutes before she responded to. And we sort of started to talk about that as her first meeting of the day, as a meeting with herself. So just like, in a regular meeting, you probably aren't available to answer emails or whatever comes up. People put up with you being unavailable for 45 minutes to an hour because you're in another meeting. She just treated that time at her desk working as if it was another meeting, and knowing that she would be back on email and back available to people at the end of that 45-minute to hour-long period. So that's an example of one of the ways that you can shift a habit, and sort of one of the habits that you might find helpful as well, in terms of really getting to those big picture, long-term, not necessarily urgent, but very important kind of activities. So the other part of the study, if I can go back to the popcorn for a minute, this is really funny because I love popcorn and I probably would have eaten every single piece of the stale popcorn. The other thing that they found in that, which I thought was really fascinating, was they did another round of it, and this time they put the popcorn on the side of the person's non-dominant hand. So if they were right-handed, the popcorn was on the left-hand side, and if they were left-handed, it was on the right-hand side. And just making that change made it less likely that even people who always ate popcorn at the movies didn't eat the stale popcorn, because it was just that little bit less convenient, less easy. So that's the other piece I want to leave you with, is to be thinking, as you're trying to build new habits, or as you're trying to extinguish old habits that maybe don't serve you, is how can you make it so that the things you want to do are a little bit easier. There's less friction. That's what scientists call that. And what are the things that you could do that would make the things you don't want to do have a little bit more friction? So years ago, I was talking with someone. I was part of a company where we were being asked to not use our phones when we were driving. And so we talked about things like putting the phone in the back seat so that it wasn't just right beside you, easy to grab. There was this barrier so that you're less likely when you're driving to sort of try to reach around to the back seat to get it. So that's an example. And so again, I want to kind of invite you to think about, are there ways that you can make habits less convenient? I have a habit of being on Facebook quite a lot, and so I have buried my Facebook app into a couple of folders inside my iPhone so that it's a little harder for me to get to. So I have to really think about, do I want to go be on Facebook right now? And then I've put my reading app, the one that, my Kindle app, so that I can read books, front and center, so that there's, when it comes time to sort of kick back, it's easier for me to get to the reading app than it is to go onto Facebook. Now, it doesn't always work, but it certainly adds just that little bit more friction to sort of socially engineer myself to do the kinds of things that are better to do. So similarly, if you think about the example we used with my client, if there was something, there might be some technology she could set up that would make it harder for her to check her email. Like maybe she could set the settings on her laptop so that email didn't automatically start when she first started up the computer, or the stock price didn't automatically jump up, on her home screen when she was starting up. So things like that can make it just a little bit easier to do the things you want to do. And then the third piece that came up in this Hidden Brain episode, Creatures of Habit, had to do with the rewards. So, when we think about changing behavior, we often think in terms of long-term rewards, right? Like if I eat healthy, then over time I will lose weight, or I'll get stronger, or, if I work out over time, I'll get stronger. And that's great. But there is a lot of evidence that shows that our bodies actually respond more to immediate pleasure and immediate pain. So the other thing to be thinking about are, what are the ways that you can reward yourself in the moment for doing the kinds of behaviors you want to do? So in the case of my client, maybe as she's closing up her work, then she can, take a deep breath and really take a moment to reflect on, yay, look at what I got done today. Even that kind of self pat on the back for yourself can be a way of giving yourself some little dopamine boosts that will help reinforce that behavior. Similarly, if she wanted to, she could make it so that she goes and gets her coffee after she's done that work as another little, kind of response, a little reward for the behavior. So a few ideas for you as you're building good habits into the new year. And again, just a really heartfelt reminder to be thinking about all the things that drain you, the habits, the components of your workplace, the things that really aren't a good fit, and to be using this year to see if you can make a shift, because everybody deserves to have a life at work that is rewarding and fulfilling and fun. And if that's not where you are right now, let's talk about what are some things that you could do about that. Along those lines, toward the end of the year, I created a self-assessment that looks at several different elements of employee engagement and satisfaction, and put it out there. It's here in the Facebook group. If you'd like to respond to that, kind of take a look at that. And over the next few months, I'll be doing a few different Facebook Lives targeting some of those different areas and what you can do if you're not satisfied in one of those particular spots, even if it feels like the circumstances outside of you. There are still things you can do individually to respond differently to the circumstances, and that's what we're going to be covering. So I look forward to having you join me. If you think that you would like to hop on the phone and have a conversation about some of the things that are holding you back, or if you're feeling stuck, or you want more than Facebook Lives, you'd like a little bit of coaching and support to move you through out of a place where you're stuck and into feeling more satisfied at work, feel free to book a call with me. The link is zmcoach.net/call. I look forward to talking to you. Take care.